welcome back everyone. So if you watched my first video on an overview of these cheap G-scale locomotives, welcome back. If you haven't already seen it, please go and check it out because it has some good and interesting points about where these come from and what they're about. Today is going to be a bit more detailed. We're going to open this one up and have a look inside and see how it all works. And the first step is to remove the cow catcher and the pony truck from the front. So I'll just turn it over like this. I've actually already undone the screws, but there's two. There's this one here, which the pony truck's attached to. Through the magic of stagecraft, we can remove this. There's also a singular screw holds the cow catcher on the front. And then that can be easily removed. Just grab a hold of it and wiggle it down, which will release it from the front of the locomotive. So now it's already changed in appearance. Rather than being a 260 tender locomotive, it can easily be passed as just an 060 shunting engine, maybe with a bit of work on the front end here. So the next step for our disassembly is we need to remove the cab, which is through 4 screws on the base of the cab, 1 on each corner. Okay, with the 4 screws removed, the cab easily lifts straight up. Let's give it a little bit of a wiggle and lift it straight up. So the cab sits in this rebate behind the boiler and locates the boiler to the back of the engine. So that's the cab removed. Plenty of space to add detail and do what you want to in there. So with the cab removed, it'd be easy to think, okay, let's just pull the boiler off, but you can't because it's still screwed on at the front and it's not exactly clear where. One thing that toy manufacturers are very good at is obscuring screws behind stickers. So on the front of the smokebox door there was a number, which I have since removed, and there's another screw just there. So let's go and pop him out. So with that screw removed, we should have some luck, keeping in mind that there will be wires connecting the boiler to the base. Alright, now we can get a better view of how everything works. So we can see the speaker for the sound, which is actually quite large, which is why the engine's sounds are pretty loud and of reasonable quality. And we can see the wire going to the headlamp, and you can also see through the chimney there. Some models, particularly the radio control ones, have a smoke feature where if you tip some smoke oil into one of these 2 holes, it runs down some sort of element and can produce smoke. There's the circuit board and the motor. So, also something worth checking out is this simple slide switch, which when you turn the bell activates the sound on and off, and basically all it does is flip the slide switch backwards and forwards. We can also see the connector for the cable that goes to the tender supplying power through the back there. Comes into the motor. Alright, let's keep going. So now we will remove the circuit board and the motor gearbox mechanism. Okay, just about lost the camera off my setup there. Anyway, interesting point here is the motor is held in, it has points for 4 large screws, but only 2 are used. Could be a cost control thing at the factory. Anyway, so we've unscrewed the circuit board and the motor mechanism as well. So we can see the gear reduction setup here. The motor, let's just focus real quick. I'll hold the line caller. Is just in here. You can see that small brass pinion runs on this one here first, here, and then gradually geared down to the axles. In my previous video I explained how to operate the train, and basically on the top of the dome there's a button which pushes this here, and this is how you control basically stopping and starting the locomotive. You press it once for forwards, you press it again to stop, third time for reverse, and so on, and it repeats that cycle. So you go forwards, stop, backwards, stop, forwards, using this rather ingenious little mechanism here, and somewhere in the middle here is a small silver can type motor. So now I'll just lift the chassis up and we can have a look there too. Alright, so inside the frame you can see the two driven axles. Something interesting is they have slipper clutches on them. So if the load becomes too great, you know, if kids are being too rough on them, they're getting tangled up in something, to save burning the motor out, there's a clutch on both axles to sort of keep things safe and stop things getting wrecked. And then each axle rides on just a simple plastic bearing, which is, you know, something better than nothing than just placing the axle shaft straight through the chassis. Means it will last just that little bit longer. So depending on what you're doing, if you just wanted a free running locomotive now, you know, one that's not going to run powered or kids to play with the mechanism removed, the wheels just rotate freely. So that's probably where I'll leave the locomotive at this stage, because I'm building a turnout or a junction, trying to scratch build that at the moment, because this manufacturer don't make junction tracks, only make curves and straights. So by having basically it free running, I'll be able to run it through as I'm testing the junction I'm building, and I'll do a video on that and let you know how I'm going and the difficulties I'm facing with that. Alright, well I hope you enjoyed that full disassembly of the Scientific Toys locomotive here, and it's a good chance to have a look inside, see how they work, and you know, if you're thinking about embarking down this road of modifications, then you know what you're up against. Alright, thanks for watching.